Greetings. My name is Wanda Diaz, and I am very happy to be here at the STEMI Festival with you. Thank you very much for inviting me to talk to you. Especially thank you because to be here today, you may have had to overcome lots of obstacles. Many of us have to overcome many obstacles to get into places. I want to tell you that I feel a lot of admiration for your achievements for the STEMI Festival, and I feel a lot of admirations for all the efforts you make. It is impossible for me to imagine the path of life taking you here, but I know for sure that it is because you are parents, citizens, and or brave young people who have moved forward with big dreams, novel ideas, and hopes that you're turning today into reality. As I said, my name is Wanda Diaz. I grew up in the new neighborhood of Gurabo, and I call it the new neighborhood because to me, Gurabo is like the center of the universe. Gurabo is located in Puerto Rico, which is an island in the Caribbean region of the world. I am a proudly Puerto Rican, and I am a proudly citizen of the world. I humbly, as I said, call Gurabo the capital of the universe. So no one feels bad. Every city that has human beings is the capital of the universe. I also proudly say that I come from a background of severe poverty, and I say that with great pride. My parents were very hardworking. They made enormous efforts for me and my sister. My sister has physical disabilities and was bedridden for most of her life. I am diabetic and totally blind. My parents, I can say that my parents' tireless efforts were not in balance with the economic instability that existed in the house, that we had in the house. We always got up early. We helped my grandparents who raised some animals and sold the meat of the animals. We also had times when sometimes there wasn't much to choose to eat, but we had chickens that always gave us some eggs that we ate or we could sell it. It was well, almost all the time we ate the eggs. But even though that was happening, it was a time, and it continues being a time of love, a time of a lot of work, and a time of dedication. Now, as a result, I love chickens a lot. I have hens, roosters, and I remember those times very, very, very fondly. So until more or less 27 years ago, and I say no more, and I say more or less, so no one calculates my age. Like some folks, I could see one day, and due to chronic health conditions, the light that I used to guide me, my eyesight, that light suddenly went out like a lamp. And I had to learn to do everything using my other senses, from putting the toothpaste on the toothbrush to learn to pick up food with a fork. All my life, I have been fascinated with the beauty of the rainbow and the sky. Although I have always wanted to be a scientist, I never asked myself why rainbows form in the sky. I wanted to be a scientist, but to me, that was something like I don't have to wonder why rainbows form in the sky. I do not know why. I never wondered. They're so cute that their beauty dazzled me. Today, I cannot appreciate the beauty of the rainbow as before, but the fact that I cannot use my eyes to appreciate the splendor of the rainbow does not prevent me from doing so. Nowadays, I use my auditory and tactile, and when I say tactile, is haptic, vibration. So yes, it's the sense of my skin, tactile sense, to observe the rainbow, to observe the stars, and study them, study the science behind all of that wonderful nature phenomena. And I don't know if, may I give you a proof? Okay, right now I'm going to play the sound of a hydrogen spiral galaxy called UGC UGC, I forgot the name, but hydrogen is the most abundant element in the interstellar media. And galaxies, they have a humongous amount of hydrogen. So when you point a radio telescope to the sky and you are measuring just the normal amount of hydrogen in the sky without a galaxy passing through the beam of the telescope, you get something that is called a baseline of hydrogen in the telescope, detected by the telescope or the radio telescope. When the galaxy passes through the beam of sensitivity of the radio telescope, then those intensities will increase. And when you touch it, it feels like a comb. When you're touching the baseline, it feels like a comb. You know, the comb, the things that you use to do your hair, to comb your hair, like that. Many spikes together. And then when it increases, it's like if one or two combs of that comb, one or two spikes of that comb would increase. Then it goes a little bit afterwards, and then it increases again, and then it goes down again to the baseline. So it feels like you're touching a comb, and then suddenly you feel the shape of a letter M forming by the spikes of the comb. So I want you to listen calmly. It is not music, it is sound, and it's very rich in scientific information. What you heard is the sonification, or the translation into sound parameters of a spectra or measurements of a distant galaxy. And I remember the name. The name is UGC 7849. Before, galaxies were given names like Andromeda, Vega, etc. Now, so many have been found that we have had to create a nomenclature, a way to name those galaxies. And the nomenclature is with letters and names in order to be able to identify it. If not, we will run out of names. And numbers are infinite, so we can just continue counting galaxies. So as I said, this was UGC 7849. And the ones that here and the ones that are seeing the graph on the screen may have noticed tones or areas in the chart increasing and decreasing in intensity. The sound that you heard and the areas that you are seeing is the translation of that galaxy data of intensities that was acquired with a radio telescope in the town of Arecibo, where I am now. It is called now AC3, where I am now the executive directors. So what happens? Telescope acquire measurements, numbers. And due to the fact that the numbers acquired by telescopes can be translated and characterized using sound parameters to augment our perception of scientifically significant information, then I use that to translate those measurements. And that technique that I use is known as data sonification. In this case, I used tones, the high and low tones, or that you heard, and the high and low areas that sighted people are seeing indicate the amount of hydrogen in the galaxy. When the amount of hydrogen increases, the tones increase. And when the intensity of hydrogen decreases, the tones are lower. Using this information, you can monitor parameters of the galaxy, make calculations, and et cetera, et cetera. So perhaps I already said that I always wanted to be a scientist. And I came to astronomy through a friend who introduced me to audification. So I said sonification before. Now I'm going to talk about audification. And it is many terms, right? And some of those terms are very, very, very long. So sonification is to use sound parameters like pitches and volumes and rhythms in order to communicate information or to perceive information. Audification is the direct translation of a format, which could be text or anything else. Is a translation of a format of some information to the auditory range directly. And audification sounds like this. This audification that you're listening is from a coronal mass ejection from the sun. This is an emission which is is a sudden emission of energy, and in this case, it was from the sun. What happens is that I do not have a visual illustration of this audification. This audification, it doesn't exist. So we had the radio telescope connected at the back of my house, and that radio telescope was acquiring the information. Is two copper wires extended at the back of my house, a wire bringing the potential difference detected by the wire to a radio that converted that energy into audio directly. So we were able to do that, but we didn't get any visual information. But anyway, without having any visual information, sorry for the ones, I do apologize deeply. Anyway, even without visual information, we were able to detect a sudden emission of energy from the sun. The sun is always emitting energy. And as I said, this was an abrupt increase in the emission of that energy. The energy moved or propagated and could be detected by a very simple radio telescope that can be built in your house. As I said, I had one in the yard of my house. And as I said, paired or very similar to a clothesline. So first, when you hear this sonification, this audification, you heard the background noise, and then you will hear an increase. You heard an increase in the disturbance that passed through our atmosphere and reached the radio telescope. So now you know why sometimes we are somewhere and we lose the radio signal without having moved from the spot, right? It's just that things happen in the atmosphere and interrupt the communication of the signal. So the moment when I heard that audification, I was half lost. And not because I was losing my sight, because it was because I didn't know what would become of my life in the field of physics and in the field of physics while I was losing my sight. And I told myself, this is the way. When I heard that audification, I said, this is the way. And I began to develop ways to use sounds to study the data acquired by satellites and telescopes, like the one in Arecibo, Puerto Rico, where I work at AC3 or Arecibo, Science, Community, and Computing, which is an educational project developed by the National Science Foundation. So what did I just tell you I did it because I lost my sight. And it is because I lost my sight that I fell in love with looking at and studying at the sky. Looking at, listen to, and studying the sky. I could have fallen in love with the bed and stay there until I was consumed or sour, or until I have soured the people's lives, etc. That is a choice. That is an option. And I know I have the ability, because I know myself, to sour people, but I didn't choose to do that. I decided to fall in love with the sky and study it. I decided to look at the sky with my ears and my hands and develop another way of perceiving things. Then, as my studies progressed, astronomy, which for many is a very complicated science, became a skillful means to create a perspective that unifies the people. And even, I hope, one day it will unify all the performance styles of the world. I do not know. I hope, right? We put a grain of sand. I love people, and I believe that the sovereignty belongs to the people. That's why it seems to me that the history of civilizations, right, of the development of humanity have been influenced by the observation of events in the sky, such as the transit of the stars, meteor showers, etc. For example, observing the skies, that helped early civilizations to understand astronomical events such as the seasons, and that in itself helped to better plan agriculture, which in turn influenced living standards, and now we have food on our tables. Another example is that astronomy was vital for navigation and helped our ancestors travel and reach our coasts. And that is why I say that astronomy is a means that can be used to provide a unifying perspective of the world. I looked for the 3 stars that they say are from the 3 wise men in the sky when I was a child. And today around the world, there are many young people who look at the same 3 stars from other cultural purposes and from other parts of the world, from different cultures. Today, the science that I perform, astronomy, as an international academic discipline, promotes international collaborations, and those international collaborations include nations that are at war. And it does that to work towards a common goal, which generates knowledge that intellectually enriches nations that are involved and help develop a more united and harmonious communication. And I call that development. In these meetings, when people are collaborating from different nations, even if they are in conflict, people sometimes have to walk a lot of miles. Some people live in very bad conditions, and that people, they forget about their problems, arrive at these meetings, at these collaborations, inspired by the fact that they're going to share knowledge. And we talk about science, and the scientists from nations, right, that are in conflict are invited, and we become one community. We dialogue. So people from Mongolia, Syria, Congo, Djibouti, that's a country that is in Southern Africa. This is easy for me because I come from the capital of the universe, Gurabu. So don't think I could understand, relate to, and respect the points of view. I mean, I don't think I could understand, relate to, and respect all the points of view and way of life of different peoples if I wouldn't fall in love with the skies. It is because I fell in love with the skies that now, right, I feel capable of trying to understand, relate to, and respect the points of views of different peoples. So that is what the skies did for me. I'm going to open a parenthesis, and don't be scared. I don't know if you have ever thought about what it would be like to be forced to live on another planet because ours is in danger. For example, think about the Kepler mission that is searching for planets. Every time the Kepler mission finds a new planet, I am very happy. And there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of confirmed planets outside our solar system. I am very happy. And at the same time, I feel great compassion for my replaceable Earth. What I want, that I say this because what I want is to plant the seed to recognize how silly fights are and the importance of staying united, the importance of courage to always choose peace and create something of value from obstacles, but mainly for people to be able to work together using their own performance styles and for them to be able to choose how they want to perform. And even though peace is not the absence of conflict, right? Peace is not the absence of conflict, but what I want to underline is that we need to proceed respecting the life of the person in front of me, their performance styles, and instead of focusing on proving that someone is wrong or that this person may not be able to do X or Y because this person has a disability, we should focus on finding a unifying solution that will create value and give people the opportunity, allow people the opportunity to use the opportunity if they want to perform in different fields. So once I didn't know how to use dialogue. On one occasion, I presented some very cool results to my mentor. And in response, he asked me out of the blue to find another place to go to work. At that time, in 2005, I didn't earn much money. I was earning $200 a month, I think, and I had to take care of my health. Losing my job was going to be a disaster. I was a student, but my mentor didn't know how to use dialogue either. And maybe he didn't know what else to tell me. And he told me that just out of the blue. He had a hard time, or I had a hard time, because due to my diabetic condition, I was also suffering from very severe seizures almost every day. But I said, I can't lose my chair at the University of Puerto Rico. And after a night of talking, I got out of bed and went to the university. I didn't know what to do. And I said, well, my mentor told me to resign. So I wrote my resignation letter and took it to the department. And a big, big situation was formed. And I cannot explain today, right, how did that happen. But what happened was that miraculously, this gentleman, Mr. Robert Candy of the Center for Flight and Space at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, he just knew about what was happening to me in Puerto Rico. And he contacted me. As I said, I was a student, and he took me, even without being affiliated with any university, to work with me through a program called Access, which is a program that provides internship to people with disabilities, to people with disabilities to have work experiences in different companies. So in this case, Access located me or positioned me to have an internship at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. They made that exception for me. I didn't have good grades because the access to information was very poor, right? And I remember that I went to him, and when I arrived to NASA the first day, I went to him, and I was shaking, I was sweating, and I said, I have to be honest with you, Bobby, Robert Candy, I have to be honest with you. I do not have good grades. My grades are very bad. I work a lot, and I do not stop. That's the only thing I can say. And he said, I bring you here because you produce results. I don't care about your grades. And that is a person that I call a very good mentor. He went away of the usual metrics of productivity in order to get me into NASA and build the first sonification prototype. I'm very grateful to my mentor, who taught me what it means to be a good mentor too. Because now when I mentor students, I try to be like him or better mentor like him. So, or better mentor than he. So these days I was working with pulsating stars whose pulsating periods are very long. They are called pulsating because some parameters as luminosity, temperature, etc., change due to periodic. And when I say periodic, I mean repetitive. So periodic or repetitive contractions of the outer layers of the star. For example, our sun, it has different layers. It has the core in its center. It has a radiative zone, which is another layer. It has the convective zone, which is another layer. It has the photosphere, which is another layer. It has the corona, which is another layer. And in those layers, we call it layers because different changes, different things are happening due to processes in the center of the star or in the core of the star or the nucleus of the star. So since the field of astronomy is not very inclusive for people who are totally blind like me, there was no way for me to study the data, read the data or just perceive the data, not even to read an astronomy book with all the graphs and photos it has and the way the sentences are written. So instead of giving up, I have had the privilege of developing the tools to use to study these pulsations. And these experiences, together with the experience of losing sight, have made me develop the knowledge and ethics to develop another way of seeing or perceiving things. What began 10 years ago as a project to familiarize a totally blind person with astronomy data has become a means that could make it easier for people with certain learning styles to do astronomy and possibly benefit the traditional astronomers as well. And of that, we have evidence. So now I want you to listen to the sound of a sudden emission of gamma rays acquired by an Earth orbiting telescope called SWIFT. I think they changed the name later, but who knows? So you will listen to the baseline. Gamma rays are the most energetic events or the most energetic energy, intensity of energy that we humans so far know. So we are listening to the normal ranges acquired by the satellite SWIFT, and then it increases. It increases a lot. So listen. And I hope you heard some changes, especially at the beginning on what we called before the baseline. I listened to this and we found that those changes that are happening on the baseline that are not visible to the eye, are not perceivable to the eye, those changes were real. And they were visually not ignored, but not perceived. Because my collaborators are very, very, very educated. They just had not been able to perceive it. And those changes were in between 3 to 6 hertz, which is the periodicity or the way it repeats, right, in the data. And those may be indicative of the emission of the source or a large amount of material ejected from a star. And then the satellite was positioned in a way that that star that ejected a lot of material, the material that was ejected was detected by the satellite. So thus, we began to demonstrate that with the use of sound, a traditional astronomer, and when I say traditional astronomer, that is politically incorrect, a sighted astronomer can perceive changes, patterns in the data that could otherwise be ambiguous to the human eye. And I invite you to ponder, can you imagine the uses this can have for surveillance, security, medicine, to augment the perception of things that will be blind to the eye. Until now, no technology can surpass the capacity of the human mind, neither the combination, the multisensorial combination that we all humans perform on a daily basis. So we also have created haptic devices you may use to facilitate to feel the vibration of different colors or light waves, listen and feel, listen and see the light. For familiarization, and also if you want to do research. This promises to give access to peoples that are deaf, blind, who I have very deep in my heart, or even it will give the opportunity to change at will your performance modalities when you are exploring this information. Simultaneously, on the screen, we have a video of the device at work, and we are just passing the device on top of different colors, and you will hear, people that can hear, they will hear the motor vibrating. And you will hear the colors the device is scanning. Also, this device is made, even though I have it in the movie, I have it in my hand. This is a device that goes into a box. The box is attached to the eyepiece of the telescope, or where people put their eyes on the telescope. And everything that is in the focal point or inside the aperture of the telescope, everything that can be seen through the telescope will be converted. The colors, the intensities will be converted into audio, and simultaneously via Bluetooth, via Bluetooth communication will be converted into a haptic feedback. Turn on the Bluetooth Arduino. Is it on? You know, say. But it's connected here, so it should be on. They should search for each other, and once they 1 second. Is vibrating on the light. So now there is no light coming. It's no doing anything. Am I getting one? Yes, it's not doing anything. And if I get light moving, it starts to vibrate. If I turn off the light, it stops vibrating. I humbly think, and forgive me if I'm using a wrong phrase or expression. I humbly think that people who declare wars, that steal, oppress, among other things, that they choose to do so because they don't have other option, or because they're cowards. I believe profoundly that you're here at this STEMIEFest because you are the engine of change. And I profoundly believe that you're doing it quite well because you continue ahead using knowledge. And true knowledge is knowledge that motivates us to carry fair, peaceful, and beneficial activities, and to live with honesty and tenacity. And to end, I congratulate you for that. That is why I can tell that today, the desperation I once felt about the situation in the world is relieved after having been at this festival. Thank you for all your efforts. It is because of you that equity and equality will always be ahead. Thank you so much.